Children across the UK are being targeted. Gangs are using kids as young as 11 to move and sell drugs in places you'd least expect it.
This is in Banbury, this is in Leamington Spa, this is in Evesham. This affects the white middle-class child, as well as it affects the child that's coming from a low-income family. They want you to be the one selling the drugs, because no one's gonna really look at you.
It's called county lines, and once they're hooked in, kids are trapped.
If I could go back, I would, 100,000,000%. I just can't get out of it now.
It's county line thing, man. It's only gonna send you in literally 2 ways, man. It's either jail or death.
Many are forced to hide crack and heroin inside their bodies.
It's really high risk, it's really dangerous, because if the drugs burst inside somebody, they've got very little time to live.
And while drugs gangs profit, parents are powerless.
My own child has sat there and his exact words to me were, I can do what the F I like until I'm 18 because the law can't touch me. That's come from a 15-year-old kid.
In Oxford, police have been called to a flat with a history of drug dealing. Inside, they arrest 2 men in their 20s and also find a 16-year-old girl.
I've got to remove her. I know, I've got to remove her from the property. I need you to move now. She needs searching, so... she needs strip searching. What? That's what I've just been told.
So mind your hand away from your groin area, please. In fact, you can go in cuffs.
Yeah, around.
This is Emily. Police are concerned because the 2 men she's with run one of the biggest county lines gangs in Oxford.
You know that those people aren't very nice people. I know you keep saying they're your mates.
I didn't say that they were my friends. I didn't say that they were nice people.
So why are you?
Done anything to me.
So why are you hanging around with them then? It's not right. You're 16 years old. That's what's wrong.
County lines gangs use kids because they are easier to exploit and less likely to get picked up by police.
Putting you into police protection is to get you out of that house safely, okay? It doesn't mean that necessarily that you're going to go into care.
Because so many children are being exploited by criminal gangs, social workers in Oxfordshire have started basing themselves inside the police station overnight so they can respond as soon as a child is brought in.
She was searched in May of this year.
Okay.
There was 5 wraps of cannabis recovered and scales. And her friend that she was with had a knife and 15 wraps of cannabis. I mean, there is intelligence that she is associating with known adult drug dealers involved in county lines. So I think we need to be very careful about where we're placing her tonight.
Across the UK, there are at least 2,000 individual county lines. Many of them run out of big cities into more rural areas and use children as their drug runners. Around 90 lines regularly come in and out of Oxfordshire.
People think, nice Oxford, it's a beautiful place, you know. They see it as a Harry Potter place, and it is beautiful. But down the side streets, you can see underneath there's all these horrible things that are happening. And there's so many tourists and they're just looking up. And I almost feel a lot of the locals look up, oh, okay. And they don't see what's happening. And they don't want to know because it wouldn't happen in Oxford.
Jacob was lured into county lines 3 years ago. His mum wants to tell her story, but doesn't want to be identified.
He was always up to mischief, always up to mischief. And when he was little, he got in trouble at primary school, him and his best friend. They filled the girls' wellies once half full with water. I got a message from a friend who was concerned that Jacob was involved with running drugs. At first, obviously, didn't believe her. And then I started spotting the signs, you know, sort of clothes, don't know where they've come from, money, don't know where he's got that money from. And then I found things that I would associate with drugs in the house. I found weighing scales in his pocket. Well, they were little miniature ones, so I don't think he was weighing apples somehow. And then it just escalated, really. He just started going missing, like regularly. I think I must have had 30, 40 calls to the police that he'd gone missing. You know, people worry about their kids. Normal worry. You always worry something's going to happen to them. But when you know that they're out and they're dealing drugs and dealing hard drugs to people that are dangerous and carrying knives, it just makes that threat of something happening to them so much more real. And this is in Banbury, our own hometown. This isn't a big, rough area of a big, massive city. This is a little market town. And it doesn't matter how good a parent you are or whether you're a single mum, whether you're married, whatever. If they get hold of your kid, there's nothing you can do about it.
Just off the M40 between London and Birmingham, Banbury has become a hotspot for county lines.
County lines are, in some respects, nothing new. We have long since had drugs being imported and distributed, but there are certain features which mark it out as quite different. One is the extent to which children, young people and vulnerable people are being targeted, corrupted and exploited to deal drugs on behalf of those organised crime groups. And the other is the extent to which mobile technology is being used to make those networks more effective than they've been able to be in the past.
You can turn up in an area, walk about, find a couple of people who look like drugs users, offer them drugs for free, and ask them, have you got any friends in the area who might want to buy drugs? Effectively, what you're doing is you are giving free drugs to get their data. And then you meet their contacts, and then you do the same thing again, and then your list of people who may want to buy drugs off you increases. And then all you've got in a very short space of time is a list of numbers on your mobile phone, and that is all you need.
In Oxford, police and social workers are debating what to do with 16-year-old Emily. They feel it's too risky for her to go home to her mum's house because it's near to the drug-dealing flat where she was found. So social workers call her dad, who lives in another county.
Yeah, so she's at Abingdon Police Station currently, while we find her somewhere to stay. Obviously, as a parent, we would come to you first. We knew that you lived out of county, so that's a safety factor in itself.
Emily wants to stay at her mum's in town, but as a child under police protection, she doesn't have a choice.
Allow it, no, because I'm not going there. I will find a way out of the police station. No, allow me, man. It's not fair. I'm not going there. Are you done? No, you'll get me mad. Just leave me alone, please. I don't want to go to my dad's house. Just leave me alone. Let me go home, man. What's wrong with you? I just want to leave, man. Just get me out of here now. Get me out of here now.
Emily eventually agrees to go to her dad's house, but asks if he can collect her from the police station.
I'm thinking maybe that we get him to come into the backyard.
Okay.
Because then she is
insecure.
Yeah. So if she does try to run her out of the area, at least she's detained in this.
The Children's Commissioner has warned that as many as 50,000 children are being exploited by county lines gangs in Britain.
152, can I just come in on that last?
Emily gets in the car with her dad and leaves the station, but a few minutes later, her dad urgently calls the police. Emily has jumped out of his moving car and run away.
So has he stopped at the roundabout, I suppose?
Yeah, slowed down.
She jumped out.
Yeah, and she's legged it. She could go anywhere.
Yeah. I just hope she's not heading back to that property. This young lady has certainly got some history, so it is very concerning, given her age, being only 16. For all I know, it's part of a gang, not just the male adults that are in custody, but a wider gang. So I'm certainly extremely concerned about where she is or where she's heading to. So let's hope we find her.
10 minutes later, a patrol car finds Emily just a few hundred yards from the police station.
I'm very tired, I just want to go to sleep, fam. And all you making him is arresting me, bro. No,
You don't listen, you don't understand. That's the whole reason I didn't want to stay there. But nobody ever fucking listens.
What's going to happen now?
I don't know.
I mean, I know it's been a distressing evening for her, but the main thing is that she's safe. And we've managed to get her out of that situation for now. It's going to be down to the day team to make forward plans tomorrow.
Emily was escorted by the police to her dad's house and stayed there overnight. The next morning, Emily's case is passed on to a team that specialises in child exploitation. Dawn Raffield is looking for evidence to charge the men she believes have been grooming Emily.
You know, the more we talk about this and the more she says, the more it is telling, isn't it?
Emily's mum has sent screen grabs of messages she's received from Emily.
She disclosed to her mum that she'd had a conversation with her boyfriend who asked to set somebody up to rob. And he said, if you love me, you'll do this for me. And she said, well, no, if you love me, you wouldn't ask me to do it. And that's when Mom started to panic. It's sad. It really is. They believe they have a choice, and when you put situations where, are you able to walk away from this? Yes, of course I'm able to walk away from this. However, because of the way they've been groomed, the grooming is so, I want to say almost secret. They don't recognise it because it's very gradual. By the time they've got to the stage where they're asking them to do criminal acts, they don't even think that's abnormal because I want to be part of that group, and to be seen to be part of that group, I need to do stuff.
You know, a matter of weeks, perhaps even days, from the point where someone was initially targeted and corrupted to the point where they were very lucratively for the organised crime group being exploited and dealing drugs in very dangerous circumstances on their behalf.
Police and social services feel Emily is so vulnerable that the only way to keep her safe is to move her into residential care in a different county. Police and social services have also been heavily involved in Jacob's life. He was put into residential care 12 months ago to try and keep him away from the drugs gangs.
Jacob was getting arrested for fighting, he got arrested for biting a police officer. The house got raided and knives were taken from his bedroom. And that's when I said to social services, I can't have him back now. Something's got to be done. Not because I didn't want him, but because I was scared that he was either going to get stabbed and killed or he was going to kill somebody else, which I still think is a huge possibility. So he was put into residential care for 6 months. I agreed to give Jacob another chance, and he'd been home a week, and it all started again, but this time worse. Apparently before it was a little bit of weed, and now it's gone to moving big packs of crack and heroin that he's denied he's doing, but people have seen him doing it. The phone will go, he'll get a bit tetchy, I'll beg him not to go out, he'll swear at me, call me all the names under the sun, tell me he's doing what he's doing anyway, and I just have to sit there and keep my fingers crossed that he walks back through the door. And that's every day.
Jacob's case is typical. Once a child gets drawn into county lines, they find it almost impossible to get out. In Oxfordshire, drugs trafficking offences have shot up by 50% in the last 2 years. Each county line is linked to a specific mobile phone number. With plenty of competition, each has a brand name so drug users can tell them apart.
This particular device was seized from a 16-year-old male that was from the West Midlands area, who we believed was operating for a county drugs line referred to as the Big C line. This particular young man was found in possession of over 600 wraps of heroin and crack cocaine, so a mix of the two. So here's an example of a typical, what I would class to be as a marketing drugs advertising message. And this one says obviously happy hour 4 for 25. So it's trying to generate trade for the line. They will supply 4 particular of something, usually crack cocaine or heroin, for £25. So it's a multi-buy offer just to try and generate custom.
Hello. What's going on? What you after? So you still doing 3 for 20? Yeah. Yeah, free riders. Huh? Free ride. Right, cool.
20, 30 years ago, you may have bought your vegetables, from a supermarket. Now you might buy them online. It's very similar with criminal businesses. In the past, they may have been more traditionally run by families and had kind of a hierarchy and a certain structure and a way of operating. Now they have pop-ups, just like we see in legitimate businesses. They have a workforce who don't actually work for them. They use properties which they don't have a contract with. It's really, really similar to what we see in the gig economy and in modern business. It's just that this is criminal and this is exploiting incredibly vulnerable people.
You all right, John? What's things? Hello, Woofer. You on your own? Good.
County lines gangs often take over the home of vulnerable people, using threats or in exchange for free drugs. It's become known as cuckooing. Police are visiting the cuckooed flat where Emily was found with 2 older men who didn't live there and have a history of drug dealing and violence. They've since issued a closure order, which makes it illegal for anyone other than the resident to be in the property.
We're not trying to cause you problems. We're trying to make sure you're looked after.
Yeah.
The people that are doing it to you, they're the ones that we want to get. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you had a young girl in a flat and we're doing our work to try and protect her at the moment.
Yeah, that's good, because that was 16-year-old.
Yeah,
that was not right.
That one-off visit would have turned into 2 nights, that 2 nights to 3, 3 to 4, and the next thing you know, you're sleeping on the floor, you got people dealing out your address, and then you're getting nicked. Whereas actually what we've done is we've got in really early doors to prevent all that from happening.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Yeah?
Are you using it at the moment? Are you using it at the moment?
No, not really.
On and off?
I love that, not really. Yeah, not really.
"40 miles away in Northampton, Daniel has been involved with county lines gangs for the last 4 years.
When I was like 11, I was picking weed up off someone and they used to just like protect me, and I thought, wow, that's good, yeah. And I got in with them, yeah, and it just changed my mindset. But now he's in jail for murder. I met him and about 3 or 4 months later I was proper in gangs. I didn't think I was being groomed into it, yeah. But then other people saying I was. I thought I was just selling a bit of weed and getting money, getting clothes, getting everything. Basically what grooming is, yeah. But I didn't see it as grooming, because like all I knew of grooming was girls, never boys.
Daniel and his friends ran a county line from Northampton to Birmingham. They've been referred by police to meet with youth mentor Anton Noble, who is helping kids get out of county lines.
What did you do through the half term? Obviously, you had a long 2 weeks break.
Smoke bare weed.
Smoke bare weed? How about your mum and your family and that?
I went away on holiday just to get away from Northampton for a bit, because obviously my parents don't like what I do.
Obviously, a lot of your friends that have been country, you've been country, gone places.
Yeah.
So how do you feel about a lot of kids your age being taken to these places without no choice?
Some of them, yeah, fair enough, they've been dragged into it, but like, I got into it by joining in with the wrong crowd, and I didn't see what's wrong. Like, at my age, yeah, I can't get no job in it, and when I was young, all I thought is I'm a money chaser. What's the first thing I could do? £300 a day. What, selling weed? Cool. Done it. I've done it since I was early. Like, I can defend myself as well. Like, if something gets robbed, then we're gonna go rob him or go rob someone else to get it back. Like,
They are a gang that's active, but they're not high up. You could say that they're just trying to get into it. And they're very easily led, and they're easily tricked, and they easily believe things. And so they're easily led to get sent to London, to go to places. So I know that you, obviously, most of you have been country before. So how do you feel when you went to the next area? How did it make you feel? Did it make you feel excited when you went there?
Well, yeah, it's different because you don't know anyone there, so you can do what you want.
I went Birmingham still. These men went Birmingham with me still. Like, Brum's a bit of a mad area and that. Within 5 minutes, a car pulled up on us, innit?
And how did that make you feel?
Bro, yeah, I'm not even gonna lie, man was scared. I'd never been scared before. Man was shitting myself. Like, I was lacking with a phone on me, about £3,000 worth of drugs on me. Like, what was I meant to do?
So how old are you?
I'm 15.
And how old are you?
14.
When you go down to that area and your parents don't know where you are, how do you think that makes them feel? Do you tell them where you are?
Nah, most of the time I'm telling them I'm staying at my boys', innit? Because my parents don't know what to do. Yes, I've been caught for lots of things and they just think that I've stopped it. I'm clever now, I don't get caught with what I do now.
They find out I'm stuck, I owe this money out, these friends have used me, I'm in a situation I can't get myself out of. They're getting into a trap.
Jaden began running for a county lines gang 4 years ago, often living in trap houses for weeks at a time.
I was like 14, 15. I couldn't get a job. There's no funds of working or nothing. You get me? So what else did I have to do? It was the easiest route of making money. So, you know, coming home with new trainers on my feet, the same trainers that my mum couldn't get me. My mum's looking at me like, right, where'd you get these trainers from? Where'd you get that money from?
Jaden was drawn to the lifestyle he thought county lines would give him. Gang members brag about their earnings on social media to groom new runners into working for them.
I used to see the orders in the estate drive past and that, obviously their little cars, watches, blah, blah. I wanted that, do you understand? Their gold teeth, I wanted it, you get me? At the time, my age, we never saw money like that, so I went somewhere, you get me? I just disappeared for a couple weeks.
We see social media accounts which are run by these criminal businesses where they show large amounts of money, they show expensive designer property and a really kind of high-class lifestyle. The reality is being in completely destitute crack houses, in terrible conditions, not eating, not washing, not sleeping, being under extreme stress for prolonged periods of time. So it's very different from the glamour which is projected.
14 to 17-year-olds are the most vulnerable to exploitation, and children from all backgrounds are at risk.
If you're an organised criminal running a county line network and you want to establish your drug dealing in a new area, and you want to establish it perhaps among a group of public school children or in a very middle-class area, then you're going to be looking for people who can blend into that area and have established relationships. You're not necessarily going to be looking for children from deprived backgrounds. So just because you think you're in a fairly comfortable life and your children are doing remarkably well, you're not going to be targeted. That won't necessarily be the case.
Youth worker Anton is talking to parents who fear their children are being groomed into county lines. He's helping them recognise the signs and rebuild a relationship.
How about yours?
Well, my daughter's the lot, so she's addicted to cannabis. She smokes it every day, smashes up the house if she doesn't smoke it. She's been attacked, she's attacked. I'm scared that I'm going to get that phone call one day to say that something serious has happened.
How old is she?
She's just turned 13. She's been like it for a year. Yeah, the same thing. Like, she's a girl and she's saying stuff like, why should she go out and get a job and get an education when she can sell drugs and that sort of thing. That's her ambition in life, basically.
Have you ever cried in front of your kids? That's good. That's a good thing to do. It's so tired, you have to remind them. Look what you did to me last week when I cried in front of you. And still you're doing the same thing. But your friends out there, they don't care if you died. They don't care. If you died, they'll probably go to your funeral, but I will never see you again. I will never see you again. Me and your father will be crying constantly because we can never replace you. But your friends, they'll get you replaced. The drug dealer will get you replaced. How old is your son?
14.
14. Yeah. What did he do for this to start happening?
He was running.
And did he get caught?
By somebody else. And that's what really scared him.
So now he's got to a point where he saw what could happen and now he stopped.
Yeah.
So now the group that he's associated with have gone against him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The people that he called friends have turned on him.
We have a 13-year-old son. He will spend every single minute of the day out. He is still coming home, so I will take that as a positive.
Are you scared of him?
Sometimes.
Has he ever hit you before?
He mostly spits at me, like right up. He shouts and spits at me, but he has hit, kicked and punched you, hasn't he?
People involved in this drug dealing at a low level, they're just an expendable commodity. And if they get stabbed or killed, the dealers will just recruit more people. And it's very, very simple to do so. And sadly, there are children lining up wanting to take part in this activity. And it's a glamour, the perceived glamour of this. But the reality is, even the people who seem to be doing well, the lifestyle they lead is not as glamorous as what you'd think.
It's been 3 months, and despite regular police intervention, Jacob is even more deeply involved in drugs and violence. He is now classed by social services as one of the top 10 priority children in the area. His mum Carla is meeting with their social worker Karen.
We've had some really good weeks, and I've thought, yeah, everything's settling down, the dust is settling, and then just out of nowhere, the attitude's back, the disappearing, the money that you don't know where it's come from.
Yes.
And then last week, Jacob phoned me up and said, Mum, I think I need to go to the hospital, I've cut my face. So I said, well, FaceTime me so I can see it. So he FaceTimed me, and basically his face was, he definitely needed stitches. It was quite obviously bad. It was slightly gaping. I mean, you could see right down to the fat in his cheek. Oh. It wasn't pleasant. Jacob's adamant he's not talking, won't tell anybody what's happened. Knowing Jacob how I know him, he will leave it a while before he retaliates.
Yes.
And the worry is that at one point, I hate to say it, obviously Jacob was a victim. Now I don't think he is so much of a victim, and I think him and some of his crew, as they call them, are probably just as much the perpetrators now as well.
Yes, and that's
where
one of the
it's going.
battles, is remembering that there were victims first, and even as perpetrators, they are still victims.
But
And
if you
that
could catch
came
them
first.
when they're, stop it when they're victims and stop it getting that far.
Yeah.
But that's the hard bit.
Let me set one thing straight. The man over there, they draw outs. Bang and Tuesday crumble. If he moves, I'll blast his soul out.
Some drill artists reference the violence, money and status linked to drug dealing in their music. It's one of the ways young people can be drawn into the world of county lines.
But with the sun come oh so long, shit, I might lose my balance. If I see them pagans first step, you'll see on the news he's splattered.
Dark and provocative videos like these are widely shared online. While he was drug running, Jaden was also making drill music videos.
I can listen to a song right now, I promise you I can listen to a song. I can be in a calm level right now. I listen to a song and it gets me into a mood that I don't want to be in. Do you understand? Drill music gets to my head, 100%. When I listen to a drill song, I want to do the mad thing.
Big guns here, about trapman OT, you must want OT.
But yeah, you can do all of this, rapping, guns and knives and shit, blah, 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 and man dying and that, boom, boom, boom. But at the end of the day, where's it gonna get you? It's not gonna get you nowhere. Because right now, my boy that I'm rapping with, he's sitting in jail right now for how long, I don't know.
Trying to swing them shanks, son, like that.
But the reality of working for a county line is not always depicted in drill videos. Police in Banbury are raiding another cuckooed address as they step up their efforts to disrupt drugs gangs.
Anyone in the property, show yourself!
We're here executing a Section 23 mischievous drugs warrant, okay? Yeah. And we'll show you that and we'll take you through that. All right, so we plan on searching the property.
Exploited children will often have to stay in so-called trap houses for weeks at a time, selling heroin and crack cocaine nearby. To avoid getting caught by police, they are taught how to hide the drugs.
Basically, you got to do what you got to do, and when you do Class A, you bend over, you wrap it up in cling, and then you go put it up your bumhole. I know someone who banked it, shit himself in the prison van so then they won't get it, and shoved it back up when he's in handcuffs. Somehow when he's in handcuffs done it. Got into prison 3,000 worth of Class A drugs. Not nice, but I've seen man do it in front of me. I've done it. I done it when I was 13.
At the very top of the chain, we have what's usually an organised criminal gang, and they are involved in the importation of the drugs, and they are ultimately the people who are driving this threat and who are earning the profit from it. At the bottom, we have that workforce tier, and they are the group of people who do all of the, what we would say would be dirty work. So selling drugs, moving drugs, and the way that they move drugs tends to be in their body cavities. So that's what we refer to as plugging, where people will put drugs in their anal cavities, but also in vaginal cavities, but also potentially down their throat, and move around the country with bags of drugs within their bodies. It's obviously extremely dangerous, it's very unpleasant, and it's something that we would encourage users to think about, that over 90% of the drugs that people are consuming has got fecal matter on it.
If a child brought into custody is suspected of carrying drugs, they may end up on the drug recovery toilet.
Well, we've had people who've been charged with possession with intent to supply. They haven't produced any drugs, and it's taken them 28 days. You know, it's not good for their system. Your body's not made to store poo for that long. There's all sorts of nastiness that will happen. We've had people vomiting stool. You get people who compact their gut. With young people, it's up to 24 hours. We can't extend them over that. They'll go to hospital. The hospital will say they haven't got the mental capacity to store drugs inside them. They'll operate and take them out. It's really high risk. It's really dangerous, because if the drugs burst inside somebody, they've got very little time to live. The last one I had walked through the doors last week, and her first words were, "There's a Kinder egg inside me that's burst. It's inside my vagina." And because that's a medical emergency, I sent her straight to the search room, said get her to remove what's there, and then we called an ambulance. And she still had another Kinder egg, which she said she could feel was opening. And it is a kind of modern slavery, because the payout they're getting back for it, it does not compensate them for all the effort they're going to have to go through. And if you said to them, you're going to have to shove these drugs up your bum, would you want it?
If a person is putting drug wraps up a child's anal cavity, that's sexual abuse. And usually it does require an additional person to do it. They will put multiple wraps into that anal cavity, and it's not something that's easy to do. And you have to be shown how to do it and taught how to do it. So there is child sexual abuse taking place. I think a lot of people just don't want to think about that as well. And you may have somebody who buys fair trade bananas, who works really hard to buy organic and to try and make really positive consumer choices, but at the same time potentially could be buying powder or crack cocaine from a county line, which has involved the plugging of a child, which is child sexual abuse.
Purchasing and taking drugs is not a victimless crime. There is a whole string of victims in our communities who are being exploited by criminal gangs, who are being sexually abused, who are being stabbed, and people are being murdered, all directly because people in our communities, good people with jobs, careers, families, are buying drugs and taking them for the weekend. And that is a reality.
The Children's Society has reported that primary school children as young as 7 and 8 are now being targeted by county lines gangs. Ex-gang member Tanaya Sam is visiting a school in Banbury.
The game, the roadside, that world, it's not just singing and dancing and I'm selling drugs and I've got designer clothes, and it's not just that. It's not, oh, I got a Rolex, I'm driving a Mercedes. It's not just that. There's way more to it. There's a lot of danger.
But we're in a society where we have young people getting messages from all angles that are leading towards criminal behavior. And these messages, are really difficult for young people to decipher and to make sense of. They only see the glamorous side, which isn't really glamorous, but it looks glamorous. They don't really get to see the other side of the coin.
For those people who want to make money nice and easy, they want to work off you. They want you to be the one selling the drugs. They want you to be the one bringing drugs here and there. You. Because no one's going to really look at you. There's kids just like you who go missing for a week. You know where they are? In a crack house. Selling drugs for somebody. You know how much they get paid? Peanuts. And if something happens to them, if something happens where one of the drug addicts comes and robs them, or one of the rival drug dealers comes in and robs them, you know what you have to do to the person who put you in the crack house? You have to find their money and pay back for the drugs that got robbed. So you know what's going to happen? You're going to have to stay working for them.
I'll be honest, I understand from a business perspective of why they would incorporate young people and have young people involved. But where I'm coming from and the criminal behaviours, if you can understand that even criminals have morals and ethics, and so the way of the 90s and the early 2000s, which is where I'm coming from, we wouldn't have had a 14-year-old and stick a 14-year-old in a house and make them disappear for a week from their mother.
It's been 6 weeks since Jacob had his face slashed. His mum, Carla, has now decided she wants to be identified on camera.
It all went quiet afterwards, and Jacob seemed extremely calm about it. And then the following week, he was called by a friend to say that this boy who supposedly had slashed his face was at this party. Jacob then turned up to the party and basically attacked the boy, threatened him with a knife. Jacob was consequently arrested.
When he was arrested, Jacob told police he'd made a mistake, and the boy he attacked was not the boy who'd slashed his face. He was released on bail pending further investigation.
There was an incident where he did get quite upset and broke down to me crying, saying that he owed these drug dealers money. So I went to social services again, asking for help. They offered to put us in an Airbnb in a small village outside Banbury, just for a couple of weeks, let things die down, settle down a bit. Jacob refused to go. And then, obviously, what happened on the Saturday morning. I came into the house and I went upstairs to check on Jacob, and he was laid across his bed. As I got closer, I realised that there was something tied round his neck, and I realised that he was gone.
Carla believes Jacob took his own life. The cause of death has not yet been established. The inquest will take place later this year.
Sometimes you never know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory. Jacob will try not to cry because it's over, but smile because you happened. That's my favourite one. Rest in peace, darling Jacob. I've got my little locket that's got a picture of him in it. Yeah, I kiss it every night. Bless him.
The county lines has a big, I'm not saying all, to blame for everything that was going on in his little head of his, bless him, but I do think that they got to him more than he let on. I think the threats, worrying about sleeping and because someone's going to come in and stab you, I think it all just got too much, and I think it would for anybody, especially someone of so young, to be in that situation where he just felt like he couldn't talk to anybody, because if he did, he'd put other people at risk, and that's just an awful thing for anyone to have on their shoulders, let alone a 16-year-old little boy. He's still a child. It's just awful. I feel like I've got to carry on our story on my own. Yeah. And like I have a lot that I've got to live for him.
He wouldn't have done that unless he was in absolute turmoil about something. And Jacob wasn't really frightened of anything. But I knew there was occasions that he was frightened. And I could tell that he didn't want to go out when the phone was ringing.
I'm ready.
No. Hey!
Oh, no, it's off. No. Just do it.
I just want them to remember him as the gorgeous, funny, intelligent boy that he was, and a complete waste. I mean, obviously, you know, some of the things he did, people would think, oh, he's not a very nice boy or whatever, but he was still my boy. And I'm never going to see him get married or have children. And his friends are doing their GCSEs and he's laid in a mortuary, basically.
ago, Jaden got caught selling drugs to an undercover police officer and narrowly avoided a prison sentence. It was a wake-up call that led him to change his path and start his own business. Today, he is launching his own clothing line at a pop-up shop.
I was trapped in a situation, innit? Now I'm out of the situation, I feel free. Like, I'm definitely an entrepreneur now. Like, I can literally say I'm an entrepreneur. Like, I own my own brand, I have my own company. Like, this is what it is, so I'm proud of it. People, like today, I've had loads of sales of people, legit people buying legit stuff. You know what I'm saying? Making legit money that I can put into my bank and spend it nicely the way I want it. So, you know, yeah, man, that's nice. Legit money's good money. Yeah.
Campaign groups are urging for more funding for prevention and early intervention services to help keep kids away from gangs before the grooming takes hold.
Unfortunately, it results in death for some. It results in mental health for others. It results in drug addiction for some others. It results in prison. And the impact is not just on that poor child, it's also upon their families and their friends. And we're failing as adults, as service providers. We're failing, and we shouldn't be having young people committing suicide because they want out and they want help. They want help, and that's our job, is to help them. So let's have those real honest conversations, and let's put the money in the right places now. And let's hold people to account. We've got to.
I mean, I think Jacob's generation, I think it's too late. But then there's the younger ones that are coming up now that are being used, and hopefully it can be stopped.